Hello, Joshua. How are you? And welcome to our show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I have to say to everyone that's a pleasure having you. You're one of the probably one of the most prominent figures in the BSV ecosystem, and we follow you a lot. And whatever you say is going to be taken into a lot of consideration by all our viewers. So we will obviously, because you don't speak Spanish, the interview will be conducted in English, and we will translate it into Spanish for our viewers.
Okay, great.
Welcome. Okay.
Thanks.
Let's start with, okay, I mean, can you just tell us a bit about how did you get to know to Bitcoin and later BSV? How did you got into this sphere of business?
Yeah, so in end of 2017, I saw BTC price go up to like 8,000 on one morning before we were going to work. And I had recalled hearing about it from a friend, I think 2013 or 2014. But I mean, he just talked about it, like not to me, but he just was discussing it. And I just didn't understand it. So I never looked into it. But then when I saw the price run up, I thought, okay, maybe I should take a look at this. I read the white paper and instantly clicked that it's just superior payment system. Because at the time I was doing ERP implementations, enterprise resource planning, and credit cards was a big part of that. We were integrating payment systems, and it's terrible. I mean, it's so bad for everybody basically except the customer. You have to program all these edge cases when things go wrong. There's lots of fees. It costs a lot. You got to pay expensive people like us at the time to code it for you. And it's just when I read the white paper, I'm like, this solves all that. I mean, it just takes it all away, fixes every single aspect of it. That became my obsession. And from then, I mean, I stayed at work for a couple more years after that, but into 2019, I just left to just do full-time stuff in BSV space, whether it's consulting, coding, writing articles, YouTube, etc.
Yeah, but there was quite a jump from the BTC, say, general culture to enter into BSV. How did it happen?
Yeah, so I did start with that, of course, with BTC. And then I actually read about some stuff on Reddit about the scaling, and their propaganda actually worked on me at the time. I thought, okay, smaller blocks, so you keep it decentralized or whatever. Okay, fine. But then I saw an interview of Roger Ver, I think middle of 2018. And that kind of changed my mind about a lot of things because everything he said made sense. And, folks are calling him a scammer and all this stuff. And, I just had to pay attention because I just thought, why are they going after this guy? And he talked about how it needs to scale, how it's supposed to be cheap, how that's how it worked originally. So that's when I started to go into BCH. And then when the BCH BSV split happened, well, it was obvious which side to choose because one side talked about scaling, the other side talked about adding nonsense stuff to the protocol. So I just went with that side.
Yeah, exactly. I did the same path. Very similar.
It seems all VSVs followed the exact same path, yeah? We love the micropayments aspect. Then BCH came along, having bigger blocks up to, I think it was 8 megabytes up to then. And then again, the BCH VSV painful civil war, which it was very painful even to experience. And yeah, I think we all big blockers went to BSV to fulfill the original vision of Satoshi.
Yeah,
cool.
But then, as you mentioned, Moto, there was the civil war, and then at least on paper, BSV lost and this hush war against BCH, and actually, if you look at the price, actually, it is trading at a much less price than BCH. However, I would say if you look into how things are changing now in terms of narrative, I mean, I don't hear anything about BCH, and I hear a lot and big, let's say, headlines regarding BSV and how also BSV developers are doing quite a lot of waves in the BTC camp, So, and you have been one of the persons who have been telling this from the outset. From the outset, I have to give you credit, Joshua, that from the very beginning, when Ordinals started, you were talking like, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. Can you tell our followers what is that about? How did you see that it was a big deal, Ordinals in BTC?
Yeah, so I would say I was a little late, even though you said I was early, relative to other people, because it started in February or so. But the reason it's a big deal is because I just look at it from an assumptions, what people make assumptions, right? And one assumption that we held in BSV is that BTC couldn't do anything. I mean, that's kind of like the whole thesis, the whole reason you have these forks is
so
because
BSV can do everything, yeah, BSV.
Well, I said BTC can't do anything.
I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah. So, and that's the assumption why all these other chains exist, right? I mean, that's from the beginning. The reason ETH got created was because you couldn't do script any longer on BTC. So every other chain exists under that core assumption. But with ordinals, that assumption is broken because now you can do data on chain. And the thing that a lot of the BTCers and BCHers made fun of us about was no one wants to do data on chain. That's stupid. Costs too much. It's not how you're supposed to use blockchain. Blah 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 blah. And then now they're doing data on chain, and they're basically doing all the same stuff that we've been talking about for 5 years. Now, granted, they made way more money. They were way more successful because they have way more liquidity and capital in that regard. Well, also, it's ironic that BSVers left to basically push this narrative on BTC. So they're basically driving all the innovation because they've actually been messing with script and data on chain for the previous 4 years. So that's why I looked at it as such a big deal because, you know, I mean, that's for us, right? I mean, if we're actual Bitcoiners and that's what we want to see, it shouldn't really matter which chain as long as it fulfills the vision. Of course, BTC is not close to that yet, even though they can do data on chain, but it is a step in the right direction, right? I mean, obviously, a Bitcoin that can do data on chain is better than one that cannot. So what you've seen is, as a result of that, is liquidity has flowed back into BTC and these new assets. Basically, they've created a multi-billion-dollar market out of zero in only a matter of 10 months now, starting back basically from March of last year. Now, January, you know, some of these things are well over $1 billion market cap. One of their tokens actually flipped BSV in market cap. And I honestly expect that trend to continue, though I do expect BSV to, you know, continue to rise here because people are understanding the need for scale and they see that similar things are happening here. So, and the ecosystems are getting more aligned, so it just makes sense.
Great. Joshua, I have to ask you, I just want to remind our viewers whenever we publish this, today is the 26th of January, 2024. The COPA case against Craig Wright is going to be practically in a week. I think it starts on the 5th of February. We all know, and I think we're all disappointed of, you know, the potential, probably likely forgeries, in my opinion, of documents sent by Craig Wright, whether it was the emails to Kleinman, whether it was, you know, this when he talked about the bonded courier and the rolling icebergs, he was going to do all this, you know, and that never turned up. If he was going to have the show the receipt for paying the domain bitcoin.org, never happened. And now the last one, the latex document, which most likely is already proven to be a forgery done in August 2023. So I think it was yesterday or day before yesterday, Craig sent offer in inverted quotes saying, okay, I'll let you proceed with BTC, BCH, blah, 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 blah. And the obvious response from COPA, which I expected, is, no, we're going to court. Like, we're going to demonstrate that you're not Satoshi. I think is my sentiment, and I think I want to share with you. I don't know what's yours. I think he's definitely going to lose. I think he's forged these documents, and therefore he's probably not Satoshi. So my two questions is, what do you think is going to happen, with BSV, if that is the most likely outcome?
Yep. So basically, once, I mean, and I'm sure we'll get into locking, but fall of last year, we had the innovation in Bitcoin script to basically be able to lock coins against content.
By the way, just let me interrupt you there. Who started that locking? Was it Jack Lew who started the?
Yes, he was on Twitter basically evangelizing the concept.
Mhm.
And then from that, David Case, who's been doing stuff with Gorilla Pool, coded up the actual script in about 15 minutes live on the space.
Wow.
Based off what Jack was saying. And then I think a few weeks later, another dev built HODL Locker. So yeah, Jack definitely created the concept. And then the community basically picked, it's totally organic, basic is what I'm saying.
Grassroots.
Which makes it even better. But I'm going to relate this to COPA, but basically ever since that point, you've had a counterculture in BSV compared to the last 5 years of enterprise, patents, law, court orders, reversing coins, all this stuff that is getting stronger by the day. And once you, if he loses, basically that counterculture is not going anywhere.
Exactly.
So
it might even thrive now.
Right. It'll thrive even more because now the focus will be on that instead of all the nonsense from the last 5 years. So yeah, I don't think anything bad's going to happen to BSV. In fact, I believe there are more people in the community that want the price to dump if he loses COPA so they can get more coins. Because that's what I saw when the price went up. I saw more FOMO from people inside the community. I'll say this last pump, we make fun of people that, it's different this time or whatever, but obviously BSV somehow ended up the year more than BTC on a percentage basis, which you never would have thought because it stayed at $30 all year, right? But when that happened, I saw lots of people upset because I think a lot of people sold at the bottom. I think a lot of people quit. They were disillusioned and they were just mad that there's no way it could actually come back in their eyes. To me, that's bullish because that means that we might have had capitulation already. I don't know. We might get it after this court. Who knows? But I think that's what's going to really surprise people because that's how it happens, right? It's when you least expect it. I mean, we wouldn't be in this if we thought that everyone was on board, right? Because that's what BTC is. That's what like something like Doge is, right? No one wants to invest in something that's almost $1 trillion market cap. There's no upside. But when you're beaten down and you're told you're scammers and you basically have a disproportionate opportunity, that's when you actually can change something, right? So that's kind of how I look at it.
Wow. Just before we continue, maybe you don't want to share it here with us online, but I love the word that you use, by the way, counterculture, because I feel part of that movement as well, where they were moving BSV too much to the illegal side and contract where what we want is the original Bitcoin peer-to-peer electronic cash. And this community-driven initiatives like HODL Locker and so on. So I'm part of that 100%. But what's your personal view on Craig Wright? Have you also stopped believing he is Satoshi?
So I've avoided talking about this subject in public because I don't know if you guys know this, but I made comments about him in the past where he actually threatened to sue me.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So to answer your question, I just got to be careful what I say, right? I mean, what it looks like, in my opinion, it looks like he's going to lose.
Yeah.
That's what I'm anticipating. Of course, I can't predict the future.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I thought, frankly, that settlement was a joke because the terms in it were basically undermined the whole reason COPA went after him. So there was no way that was going to get accepted. And people need to really question and stop being, they need to, the cognitive dissonance is insane in the BSV community. People need to just look at it and say, hold on, if this guy could sign, why is he offering them a settlement? Because look, they're trying to say, oh, well, he's giving them an olive branch, right, to take his offer. But hold on. if you actually have the kill shot, you cannot risk not being able to defeat them, right? Because this is not like some Jewish dude down in Florida. This is not just some random guy. This is not a podcaster. This is not a cat in a cosmonaut suit. This is Jack Dorsey. This is Mark Zuckerberg. These are some of the most capitalized, wealthy, successful individuals on earth.
Yeah.
That you claim to have lured into. If you can sign, you sign and you finish them. But he can't. Clearly, allegedly, he cannot. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Because why would he offer to settle? There's no way. There's no way. So that's how I look at it. And again, that's just my opinion. I don't know the truth. Like that's what I'm saying. I'm using the word allegedly. So yeah, that's what it looks like to me.
So following that logic, right? Let's say, because I feel the same, right? There was a time when Gavin Andresen vouched for him. Then if Gavin Andresen says he's Satoshi, bloody hell, I'm sure he is. But now it seems like I would say close to 100% that he's not, right? So let's assume he comes out not to be, and therefore he's a fraud. How does BSV survive? Because right now it's being maintained by Enchen, which is basically his and Calvin's company. So what will happen to BSV? How will it survive in the counterculture atmosphere?
Yeah. So well, he works. I don't think he works for Enchain anymore. I think he contracts. I don't think he's actually at the company. That was a fallout from those events with Ager Hansen. This is where people get things wrong, right? Frankly, Enchain Tall could disappear tomorrow and BSV would be fine. We are actually already seeing this. People need to question, when all the details about Craig and when he left Enchain and Ager Hansen got fired, why did the price go up? If the price goes up, you will see BTC miners come over at the snap of a finger, which has already happened. I've seen Tall's hash rate go down from 90 to 30% when BSV was above $100. So if the hash rate drops, the BTC miner will step in because there's basically free profit to be made, right? Just because the hash rate drops doesn't mean the price drops, right? Those things are independent in the sense of if you were to move one immediately, right? Like there has to be a reaction. There has to be time. For example, if the price triples, you'll see the hash rate increase, but it's not as if it's instant. You see what I mean? If Tall's hash rate disappears, the BTC miner will come over on the next block because they will see the profitability drop. So they will basically replace them. So the idea that we need Tall is we don't. There's more than enough hash power to mine. I mean, BSV is what, 1 to 600? So you only need 1/600th of a hash rate to keep the chain alive. There's plenty of hash power to do that.
And apart from the hash power, what about the protocol? Will that still be safe? Who will keep it live? And what would happen to things like Terranode and all that?
Yeah, so Terranode is another thing. The issue with Terranode is that it's dependent on a company, right? And that company, and this is something that is also in this counterculture where basically the concept of a company is rejected. If you have a company and you are paying people on salary and benefits and all this stuff, then the products you deliver are also dependent on those same benefits. Therefore, when the company goes away or decides to go do something else like pivot outside of blockchain space or starts firing employees, that product now never launches, right? Unlike HODLocker, who the dev was paid $0 to launch, unlike some of these other protocols that are manifested organically based off people just wanting to see the actual vision of Bitcoin. And them being on-chain, open source, interoperable, rug-free is a new thing I'm saying. Basically, if someone does something else, it doesn't mean that the protocol's gone. Everyone still has their stuff. That culture needs to be maintained. So Terranode basically wouldn't launch, right? If Enchain goes bankrupt, there's no Terranode because no one's gonna, because who's gonna pay those employees to release it? You see what I mean?
Exactly.
Right. So when you have this other stuff that's out there, anyone can just pick it up, just like the chain. Any miner can come in and start mining. You don't need to like go form a company, get health packages, social security, all this other stuff. So by tethering themselves to basically the legacy fiat system, they're risking future productivity, which is, in my view, is the entire antithesis of the system. And that's why this counterculture exists, because all this stuff, this crap got started about law, legal, Web 2, enterprise, patents, dependencies on the systems created centuries ago, when Bitcoin is a 0 to 1 rejection of basically all that.
It's quite a statement.
Sorry. So in that event, would you see a possibility maybe of a fork happening? Say Calvin and company continue through the Terranode route. Could BSV basically split into two?
I don't see any reason why it would. I mean, I don't see anyone wanting to alter the protocol. The only thing that I could see that would be a non-negotiable protocol change, in my opinion, would be coin reassignment. But if we're making the assumption that Craig will lose, the risk of coin reassignment is 0, right? There's no way he's going to be able to achieve that goal. So there's no reason for the protocol to change, right?
Me personally, I see more risk of forking in the case of BTC than in the case of BSV.
Right.
Can you please develop on why do you see this risk as possible in BTC? Why with the ordinals that could happen?
Because the creativity and the people wanting to make money on that chain is only going to increase. Therefore, they're basically pressuring the entire community to come up with a scaling solution. So, well, maybe fortunately for us, they're turning to L2s like Ethereum and other blockchains have done to try to scale. So they're not trying to scale the base, but of course, people will ask the questions. Also, consider that some of the top exchanges on ordinal exchanges on BTC came from BSV. So they understand that increasing the block size actually works. So they have customers, right? They have paying and happy customers because these guys made a lot of money over the last 10 months. So if they start saying, hey, we need to increase the block size, now it's not just people, a bunch of cultists pounding their drums on Twitter. It's now businesses that have made a lot of people a lot of money saying, actually, we need to increase this block size. So I still think it's unlikely. I started to come to I thought they could do it about 7 months ago. I've reconsidered that because they saw the demand back in May and they didn't do anything. And then it happened again at the end of the year and they're not doing anything. So I'm just like, I just think it's been that way too long. So it's just they're not gonna increase it, which, is good for us because, I think that's a big risk, but that's the irony is like, they're not gonna do it because they would just be admitting that we were right. So what Jack Lew, shout out to him, has been saying is, yeah, they're going to increase it after we already flipped them.
So you are of the opinion that because people who, with their creativity and willingness to trade on chain, will seek the chain that can cater for those needs, they will look into BSV. And at a certain moment, it will be no way, it will be too late for BTC to react.
I'm not sure about that. Those people will push BSV forward. I'm just saying that yeah, like just because BTC can't scale or even BSV is still relatively not known and not popular. Those two things, the creativity, I know for sure is not going to stop because if people, because what concept resonates with people is the idea of doing this type of stuff, making data on chain, creating NFTs, tokens, apps on Bitcoin. That resonates with a lot of people, right? Because the market greatly perceives BTC to be Bitcoin, even though we don't. Mm-hmm. But a lot of new people don't know any of this stuff. They have no concept of BTC, BCH, hash. They don't know anything about that. They just want to create on Bitcoin. So that's not going to stop. I don't know if those people will come over to BSV. I don't know if that's going to happen, but so it's just going to push to a point where it has to result in some type of change to whatever the status quo is. And frankly, we're seeing it, right? I mean, like I said, BSV was 1,000 to 1 to BTC. Some of the ordinal stuff like Bitmap, Ordi were like 2 to 1, 5 to 1 to BSV. Those values are now in half.
Yeah, actually, BSV has made quite a lot of progress in the last months. which, as you said, no one would believe, because it was just like the new normal, that it was always lower and lower. However,
Right.
things have been reversed. Do you think that the trigger for that counterculture, say, reaction was hodl locker, or was it before hodl locker?
Yeah, so I've thought a lot about this. Some people will make the argument that, oh, well, you know, you had all this drama with Calvin and Craig and Kristen Hansen, that, oh, well, it looks like Craig is going to sign because he's getting pressure to do so. So maybe that's why the price went up when all this drama started. I think what is more objective, and because what I've also, and I'm actually surprised by this, is that other crypto communities want to do locking. BCH wants to do it, BTC wants it, Doge wants it, but they can't because they don't have script. So that concept resonates with them. And definitely people have come over from different chains because of it. It has onboarded new people. So we just gotta look at it. BSV was $30 before our locking, and now today it's 70, got as high as 115.
I want to add that during that pump in Christmas or New Year's Eve, that period, most of the price was triggered by this exchange in South Korea. So it seems like it did come from maybe a particular buyer, probably triggered by the new evidence that Craig was said he had, including that latex file. In my opinion, I think that probably was the trigger for the price going up. Somebody believing, oh wow, if he's got the original white paper, then he is Satoshi.
Already earlier, there was another pump, and that was not ready to this exchange. That was just out of the blue, and well, which is I don't know. I mean, what do you think, Joshua? How do you make any logic of this?
Yeah, that the timing Moto brings up is correct. There was some article in South Korea, and then lots of volume was there, but it had already risen quite a bit till that point. But that was definitely the last leg of it. Yeah, I think we're going to find out. If you see a sell off after this ruling, then yeah, we'll know that that's why it went up. But like I said, I think there are lots of people that will step in and purchase, because the other part about it is the people in this counterculture made some money last year. So, you know, this whole meme of poor BSVers is starting to change as well.
But by the way,
yeah,
a shout to Linz, who's joined us. Linz is a computer scientist, also an early Bitcoiner, who's followed our same path of BTC, BCH, VSV. Do you want to say hello, Linz?
Yeah, hi. I didn't want to interrupt earlier, so I just kept quiet. That's why I was waiting for a moment. But hi, everyone.
Let us know if you have any questions. Jump in whenever you want.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool.
No, I wanted to say that Jack Liu, this has been really a figure that in the last months has been quite at the forefront of BSV, let's say, culture, as a broad culture. And he has been very adamant that BSV will flip BTC. I mean, it's people, even the people who follows Jack Liu in the spaces and in Twitter, not anymore because he deleted his account in Twitter, but even people who follow him, most of them do not buy this theory of him that BSV will flip BTC. But still, they follow him for other reasons, because of the ordinals, because of his predictions that he has been quite accurate. Let's say he has nailed it. But I follow him, and it was quite curious to hear that his way of thinking is that, okay, guys, make money with the ordinals in BTC and then convert to BSV. So how does it resonate with you?
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's hard to say, right? Because there's a lot of damage done over the past 5 years with BSV community, right? I mean, you basically had 2 run-ups to 400 and 500, and then you basically had number go down tech, so to speak, for 3 years from there. So a lot of people are, upset because of the direction things have been going, because of these, opposing camps and infighting, and lots of promises from one side with the patents and all this stuff, despite and basically nothing to show for it. So and then the other side, you've had also infighting, can't get on the same token protocol, using different apps, a bunch of apps that are not interoperable. So I would say, basically especially down before the locking, and then when BTC was really taking off with the ordinals last year, that was probably the low for BSV. I mean, at one point it got down to $15 on an exchange. So people, even pro BSVers, are going to have a hard time with Jack about like converting the ordinals, because if some of the BSV people made money like that, they're naturally going to think, well, I'll just hedge, right? I'll just hedge with my BTC stuff in BTC and then keep my BSV. And this is like a fundamentally Daniel Craig Wright's argument, who said you should just hold all the forks, because if that's the case, you can't lose if Bitcoin, quote unquote, succeeds, right?
Yeah, that's
because
the
if you
so-called Bitcoin index, all the chains of Bitcoin. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I in my opinion, that strategy would have basically a 95% or so success path. But the issue is people get greedy, right? So they see, oh, well, I can get 400 BCHs for my BTC, let's exchange. Or I can get 1,000 BSVs for my BTC, let's exchange. Right. So, yeah. Again, I mean, basically, as the days go on here, I'm going to have more BSV than I did the day before. That's how I look at it. I do agree that with Jack that it will flip it. Of course, that sounds crazy. I'm sure people make fun of me, but people making fun of us for a long time. But I think why people have a hard time is because they're like, oh, well, that's just how it is. So that's how things have to be, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's the frame. I was like, well, BTC is, hundreds more, as thousands more than BSV. BSV is just this little fraud scam chain. It's always going to stay that way. It's never going to change. The issue with that, and I still think people don't grasp this. I talked about the hash power before. If the hash power is such a low ratio, it's fine. It doesn't cause any problems. But if BSV ever goes up a lot, like against BTC, it's going to cause serious problems. I believe
in terms of price or in terms of hash power?
Price, in terms of price.
Okay.
Because the hash power will follow it, right? It has to. If BSV gets to like 10% of BTC, which is $4,000, it can't stay that way, because it will pull so much that the blocks on BTC will get slower, right? Because the amount of hash power at a given point in time is X. And just because the prices change on the SHA-256 forks doesn't mean the hash power becomes X plus 10. You see what I mean? Like, no one's going to basically manufacture a ton of ASICs in a day, right?
Yeah, I get it. It's a very interesting point. It's the first time I heard
So,
it. And so what you're saying is that if BSV price goes up, the hash power will migrate. So no new hash power will be created, because, as you say, you can't manufacture the ASICs machines. So what will happen is hash power from BTC will migrate to BSV, making BTC even slower, because they'll have less hash rate for them.
Right. So people will really have to question in their minds, oh, wait, whoa, what's going on here? The hardest decentralized digital gold is losing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like people are defecting. Should I convert 5 to 1? Should I convert 10 to 1?
Mm-hmm.
So it either has, what happens if BSV ever gets to like $5,000, right? Or like 8,000, it can't stay there. It either has to go back down to like $200, or it has to flip it, right? Yeah. Because people will make that decision. They will say, hold on, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? But here's the problem, right? If they all sold their BSV, it's kind of set what they're going to do. They're going to flip to BSV, because they have BTC, but they don't have BSV. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So someone's going to hedge, right? You see what I mean? They have zero BSV.
They have mental Bitcoins, mental BSVs.
Mental Bitcoins. That's right. Right. And then here's the other thing. It's a one-way street, because once you go to something that's better, It's not like you're gonna go back. How many stories of people, you know, sure, the BSV people went to go build on BTC, but I don't think those people actually sold their BSV, right?
Mhm.
I mean, as evidence, Jack was the first guy to build an exchange on BTC. Yeah, he's the biggest BSV bull of anybody, right? So people do not take the path that we took and go backwards. That doesn't happen.
I think once you try BSV, I think there's no going back.
Right.
It's
It's
just
like
so much better.
It's like trying Google after having Yahoo. Yeah, you never go back to Yahoo
Yeah.
search, right?
Yeah, definitely.
It's very interesting. That's very interesting what you say about the hash power, because indeed hash power is the main argument that the BTCers put at the front. Say, okay, what are you, BSV? What is your hash power? Nothing. It's minuscule.
Right.
We are the most secure network on the earth because of the hash power. As soon as the hash power, indeed, a big chunk of it moves to BSV, yeah, that can be a seminal moment.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing there, Naka, is that hash power follows price and not the other way around. So all you have to do is increase the price of BSV somehow, and then hash power just follows almost instantly within the same, not even 24 hours. I mean, within minutes.
Yeah, some of these pools have algorithms coded to look at the price and move instantly. Like as soon as they see the price go up, their miners will switch.
Yeah, that's economically correct, but indeed, but, you know, on top of that, you break their arguments. You completely disauthorize and annul all this elaboration of arguments that do not make sense. Yeah.
Right. So the first one that's been broken in 2023 was data on chain. It's stupid. That's shattered now, right?
You can have it basically, and BTC
yeah, and now they have it.
now know it. Even though some of them tried to avoid it and to amend it or ask the protocol to forbid
Right.
you know, NFTs and things going on BTC.
Right. Like that's the thing. Bitcoin Core explicitly coded to not allow this stuff, but ironically, their Taproot change had a loophole that was exposed, and that's how they did it.
How could they allow that? to that even to the audience to start with?
It's Murphy's Law, man. Like you keep messing with it, you keep tinkering, and you keep adding crap to the protocol, then you screw up. Like you just don't cover your bases with it.
Okay, so originally you couldn't like do any of the NFT stuff in BTC, and now you can because they basically changed stuff. And
right.
Okay.
Yeah, they back in 2013 or 2014, they explicitly limited the data size to like 40 bytes. But when they added Taproot, I think in 2022, I think another dev found a loophole to be able to do scripting with data on chain. So if they never added Taproot, you wouldn't have ordinals.
Oh, okay, I see.
That's quite very curious information. Like ironic. It's like ironic how it came back to them. It's like a boomerang. Yeah.
Right.
My biggest take from this conversation, Joshua, is and again I go back to that lovely word that you used, the counterculture, where you know I see people like yourself, like Jack Liu, Rafa Laverde, probably people from Twitch and other BSV prominent developers. I think they are waiting for this counterculture to rise. So in other words, we are waiting for, okay, Craig, you've been discovered that you're not Satoshi. Just move out of the way, and then maybe BSV can flourish again. Maybe people like Shadows and so on can come back and make this ecosystem be a force in the blockchain community and be accepted in other exchanges as well, back in even in Coinbase or Binance or whatever.
Right, because that's the main point of contention, right? What was I gonna say? Yeah, it's a sad situation, right? Because you know we thought, you know, you have this odd thing where you do have Bitcoin that's closest to what Satoshi made, but yet you have Craig Wright, which again, you know, we're not making any factual statements about him. We're just giving an opinion, right? Because those things have been linked. I think Shatters actually tweeted about this recently. He said that those two should have never been tied together, and I think he's right because they're independent things.
What those two? Sorry.
He said something like the BSV community made the mistake of linking scalable Bitcoin with Craig Wright.
Mm-hmm.
But here's maybe a hope, a projection on my end, but I can say this, right? I know for 100% for a fact, if the worst case for Craig, right, if that happens in this case and he loses, I can tell you 100% these counterculture people are not going anywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I
True.
don't know is what is going to happen to the price in the short term, therefore the community and so on.
Yeah.
Some people might defect, right, naturally. But once you, if that goes away, which a lot of people says has been basically keeping the chain from the public view, and obviously being listed, having liquidity and stuff. If that's the case, and then that problem goes away, I think what's going to happen is, and this might be a more, another point for the flippening argument, is that what is going to happen in the blockchain space when people realize, oh, I thought that BSV thing was a complete scam and joke. I didn't think it scaled. I thought that was all just made up BS. You telling me there's actually people there and they're still there after Craig Wright's gone?
Yeah.
I don't think people are going to be able to handle that.
Yeah, but some people think this is a scheme for Craig and Calvin to grab BTCs.
Right.
So, but okay. In any case, let's not rule out the possibility that Craig Wright wins. He may have an ace card still on his sleeve, and well, maybe all these allegedly forged documents is just a way of showing weakness in just before the real battle. Because the case has not yet started. I mean, it's on the 5th of February when the hearing starts. So knowing Craig, and maybe he's following this the art of war. Like you have to pretend that you are weak while you are strong, and then make a big win move. Anyways, just leaving the possibility that he may actually win. And that could be even, of course, better, I think, for BSV. But okay, whatever. But the important thing is that whatever the outcome, regardless of it, BSV is here to stay. It's not going anywhere, and this counterculture will make sure that it will keep growing and inventing and harnessing the curiosity of other people, new people that are coming.
Yeah, because the truth is, I mean, BSV is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, anybody who uses it doesn't go back to BTC or VCH or any other stuff. Yeah, so the protocol is absolutely great. And even if Craig turns out to be a scammer, we will thank him for keeping it alive, him and Calvin. I give them that. What do you think, Joshua?
I mean, like I bring that back to the hash power thing, right? I mean, it's like a biological organism, man. Like if they didn't do it, somebody else would have. Now, granted, the in-chain team did re-add the some of the Satoshi stuff. Right? Yeah, the opcodes, right? They did that. So yes, absolute credit for that. If Terranode comes out, I mean, that's going to be a big deal because, you basically have people that had the mindset of creating for big blocks, working hard at something to deliver something that's, better than the whole crypto space is seeing. But also, that doesn't mean that we need them in the future because, again, in my view, the miner is the most incentivized to actually do a lot of this stuff. And, those people that are making Terranode, they don't actually mine blocks, right? Unless you're going to say that they're tall, which they're not. So, yeah, so their credit they have is restoring the opcodes, parallelizing the software. That's where the credit is because, I mean, obviously going back, being close to what actually Satoshi put out there to the world in 2009 is obviously key, right? That's one of the reasons we're here is because we think that was good enough.
Absolutely. Talking about Terranode, imagine that Terranode is already launched on the mainnet and it's doing on capacity 1 million transactions per second or more. How do you see that world? Are we able to utilize this and to actually leverage that enormous capacity?
Yeah, the thing is, we're not close to that. So that's one of the issues with it, is that, you know, generally speaking, you build stuff in response to demand, not the other way around. You don't go build a city not knowing if people will be there. If we can do 1 million transactions per second, you know, I mean, I think the first question is, why do we need to do that? I mean, the current node software has already demonstrated that it's already good enough based off the current demand. So I don't see, I mean, I'm not saying Terra Node should not come out. I'm just saying that you're not going to see anything that actually takes advantage of it anytime soon. Now, I could be wrong, because one thing I will say, though, I will say this, is anything can happen, right? To where you get a spike in demand and you need it. That could happen. That's very possible. So I don't want to say that, but like it's unpredictable, right? Obviously, I'll just say this: it's better if we have Terra Node than not, as long as the old node is still usable, right? Which I've confirmed that it is. So as long as that's the case and people have choice and then they can modify the software, do whatever they want with it, then that's a good thing. It's not like you're going to see Terra Node come online and that's actually linked to the demand. That's what I'm saying. You still need something else to create that demand.
I have a little discrepancy there. I have a different opinion there, because I think I remember listening into a conversation between Ray X, Charles, and Amaury at the time. They were discussing precisely about this, like, you know, let's grow organically from 8 megabytes to 32 and just grow according to demand. But there was a point from, I think it was Ryan X Charles or somebody else, where he said, no, you know, you need to have it ready, because if this happens, it's explosive. It happens instantaneously. And he gave the example of Pokemon, that it went from 100,000 users in Japan to 100 million worldwide within about 3 weeks. So I think that explosion of use of data on chain can happen suddenly. I mean, all you need is, you know, 2 big companies like Starbucks or McDonald's to accept Bitcoin, and, you know, you already have that kind of use, you know.
Possible.
Right.
Joshua, can you tell us a bit, what are you doing from your side? I mean, describing a bit, explaining to us your projects, which is like your contribution to this counterculture, no? To this creativity in BSV.
Yeah, lately, the last 2 things I've been working on is like an open source browser wallet called Schwallet.
Yes.
It's written in. Oh, great. It's very basic. There's not even a website for it. It's just GitHub where you can get the code. But it's basically created with the intent to help other devs build and not have to reinvent the wheel for common things, right? So like locking coins, doing buy and sell orders on chain, managing your ordinals, sending Bitcoin, downloading your keys, this type of stuff. So yes, I do use it in my apps, and other people have adopted it for their apps, but like there's no like domain for just the wallet. So I've been working on that. And then the other one is my domain called taleofschwa.com, which started as kind of a game concept, but it's morphed into adopt the ordinal stuff. So I've done some lock to mint things on there. I've made a market for different tokens that you created via locking to mint. So the lock to mint concept is that you lock coins in the future to get a token instead of paying somebody, right? Instead of like buying an NFT for like whatever price they set. You say, hey, lock 1 million Satoshis, which is 70 cents today. Lock that for a year. And in return, you'll get 1,000 of these tokens, or you'll get this JPEG NFT, this sort of stuff.
Yeah. We have made a tutorial about lock to mint in our channel. And it's
great.
quite interesting concept. And I believe Lins is also following your GitHub. Is it correct?
Well, yeah, most the YouTube channel. I've seen many of your tutorial videos on coding. I remember the one like doing the NFTs on Run, creating the tokens, and as well, the last one I kind of followed and tried to do my own app is the Handcash Pay. So yeah, it's really good tutorials, and I've used them a lot to try and test stuff out and learn about coding on BSV.
Right.
So yeah, thank you for that.
Okay. May I make you a last question? And before you make the wrap up, this question was made by Jack Liu to other people listening to him in a space. Imagine that the price of BSV, talking again about price, because anyways, people are interested into that. Imagine price of BSV remains more or less stable around the price which is now for a span of 2-3 years. At the end of this period, which is a long period, 2-3 years, how do you see yourself? With more BSV, the same BSV, or less BSV?
Yeah, definitely more. So like I said, generally speaking, tomorrow I will have more coins than I did the previous day.
Yeah,
that's always going to be true until, well, obviously, if this thing hyper Bitcoinizes, that'll change, right? Because we go from saving to actually spending in the economy, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But until that happens, yeah, it's always gonna the amount I have will always increase.
But the question, the reason of the question is because, you know, people, I mean, you may know it. People may think, okay, I will try to make money with ordinals in BTC, which are more popular, and try to get more BTC or other coins, and later I will buy BSV because, I mean, assuming they even like BSV, later if they believe that BSV could make a big leap, but they always think later. So
right, of course.
So, but the fact that you say, okay, regardless of the price, regardless of what other coins may be doing, maybe they are pumping and BSV is just not doing anything, you see yourself with more BSV, which is quite telling, I would say.
Of course, yeah. And then the problem with what you just said is obviously that, you know, you could have something like the end of December happen where, oh, you know, for a bitmap, I can get 5 BSV. Oh, well, actually, now you can only get 2.
Yeah, exactly.
For an ordi, you know, I can get 2 BSV. Well, now actually ordi is less than BSV. So, right?
Quite fast.
Yeah, the thing is that if BSV shoots, or when it shoots, it just goes parabolic in no time, like days, right?
It could, yeah.
Well, not only could, we've seen it happen many times.
Actually, I see in one app that the total liquidity of BSV is like, I don't know, worth of $10 million, and the total ask is for $5 million. So someone with $5 million can buy all the offer of BSV. Actually, I mean that's nothing. That's for people who are a bit of wealthy. They can't really sweep all the BSV available and price.
Yeah, and the other thing that, you know, a lot of people inside of BSV still make fun of is still the locking, right? I mean, now there's 12,000 coins locked, which, you know, it's not a lot. But again, even with the BSV price goes up, I expect that number to increase. So basically what you're going to see is it's going to be even more hard money than these other things, because you're going to have coins removed from circulation into Bitcoin scripts as the demand increases.
Mm-hmm.
Right, people have not understood this yet. Yeah.
Obviously, it has to still to make a crack in someone's mind. Like,
right.
But
okay.
Correct. Technically, it's correct that there is less offer available. Yeah, absolutely.
Nak, I'm a bit conscious of the time because I know Joshua has to leave and myself as well. So I think we've got to start wrapping up.
Yes, I would like you to, Joshua, to end your intervention with us with some final words of some final thoughts.
Yeah, I would say, you know, I don't know how everyone has different subjective situations, but I would say to really understand what's happening with this chain is to go use hololocker.com, hodlnet.sh. Just go check these things out, play around with it. You know, it doesn't really cost any, but you can actually post for free on HODLlocker. So, you know, I'm not telling you to go spend your money, buy something. I'm just telling you go use this stuff and just check it out. That to kind of see, I think this is where you see the actual Bitcoin ethos, not all this other garbage that's in the media and on social media. Basically, it's the only place, in my view, on the internet where you're not getting basically confused or, you know, someone's trying to manipulate you.
Would it be fair to say that the counterculture aspect of BSV is being reflected in HODLlocker?
Absolutely.
We'll be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Joshua, for being with us. It has been a real pleasure. And
thank you.
shout out for your contributions to BSV. Shout out for you.
Thank you very much, Joshua. Really a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.